Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Transmigrated to a medieval Pokémon world. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 221, Before the Grand Competition. Since leaving Lucian City, Anna had been training far from home. The moment the gyms across the Unova region officially opened, she set out on her journey to collect gym badges. Along the way, she met countless people and experienced things she never could have imagined before. In addition to her original partner, Zoroark, Anna had captured many powerful Pokémon: Braviary, Electivire, Magmar, Lilligant, Crocodile. Moreover, she had followed Lucian's teachings closely, applying his training methods to every one of her partners. Under her guidance, each Pokémon's strength had grown to a remarkable level. Zoroark, Anna said, turning toward the Pokémon beside her, excitement shining in her eyes. Next, let's work together and give teacher a real surprise. Zoroark let out a low cry, its gaze sharp and confident. Oplucid City Pokémon Flying Taxi Station. A tall young man pushed his way through the bustling crowd, his expression resolute. In his clenched hand was a gym badge, still warm from the battle. The final gym badge had been collected. Next, it was time to head to Lucian City and await the final grand ceremony. Mother! Derek whispered softly, tightening his grip on the badge. I'll definitely win. I'll become a great trainer and give you a good life. His eyes burned with unwavering determination. But before departing for Lucian City, there was still one thing he needed to do. Derek made his way to the Pokémon Center in Oplucid City. He handed the 6 red and white Pokeballs in his possession to Nurse Joy. Please wait a moment, she said with a gentle smile. Joy placed the Pokeballs onto a small cart, which a Chansey carefully pushed toward the back room. Inside, Chansey closed its eyes and released a soft, warm wave of energy. Heal Pulse. Pink light enveloped all 6 Pokeballs, continuously mending the injuries of the Pokémon inside. A short while later, Chansey pushed the cart back into the lobby. Chansey. It happily presented the cart to Joy. Thank you for your hard work, Chansey, Joy said warmly before handing the Pokeballs back to Derek. Thank you for waiting, trainer. All your Pokémon have fully recovered. Thank you, Derek replied sincerely. His gaze lingered briefly on Chansey. He had heard that this species possessed extraordinary healing abilities. Carrying large quantities of potions while traveling through the wilderness was cumbersome. If he had a Pokémon like that on his team, it could save him both time and resources. Unfortunately, such Pokémon rarely shine in battle, falling far short of combat-focused partners like Lucario. After completing the healing, Derek didn't leave immediately. He stepped into the backyard, raised his arm, and tossed all 6 Pokeballs into the air. Everyone, come out! Clack! White light flashed as 6 figures appeared before him. Lucario, calm and composed, radiating restrained power. Throw, muscular and imposing, clad in its white GI. Haxorus, its armored body bristling, massive axe-like tusks gleaming. Beartic, exuding icy cold, frost curling faintly around it. Druddigan, a massive dragon type, rough and intimidating. And Hydreigon, 3-headed, ferocious, and overflowing with violent energy. These were the partners Derek had gained through blood, sweat, and countless battles. All 6 Pokémon looked at him intently. Compared to the boy who had first set out with his starter Pokémon, Derek's body was now sturdier, his posture straight and steady. Scars marked his face and limbs. Each one was a medal earned through survival. The scar across his face, in particular, had been left by Hydreigon. That battle had been unimaginably dangerous. But in the end, they had prevailed, overwhelming Hydreigon with sheer determination and strength, forcing it to acknowledge Derek as its trainer. Derek took a deep breath. Everyone, he said firmly, next, we head to Lucian City, the capital of the kingdom. There, we'll face the strongest trainers from across Unova. This is the final battle. Derek's gaze swept over the Pokémon standing before him. His expression grew solemn. The final victor will become the strongest trainer, and the strongest Pokémon team in the entire kingdom, he said firmly. So I ask all of you to give it everything you've got and show everyone our true strength. A whoa! Roar! One by one, the Pokémon responded, their voices filled with resolve. Derek smiled. He extended his hand, and one after another, the 6 Pokémon reached out, placing their paws atop his. Trainer and Pokémon, united as one. Then, Derek said softly, let's go. Kagome Village. Freya and her Pokémon were currently staying at the home of a local villager. Ever since the establishment of the kingdom, many trainers had begun traveling specifically to Kagome Village, either to train or to capture Ice-type Pokémon. As a result, the village had developed at astonishing speed. In just a little over a year, inns, restaurants, and all kinds of shops had sprung up where there had once been little more than empty land. At this moment, Freya was sitting wide-eyed, listening to a villager animatedly recount a tale from the previous year, how a legendary Pokémon master had arrived and rescued the villagers after they were captured by a man-eating giant beast. Her eyes sparkled with admiration. Wow, that trainer must have been incredible. Beside her, Patrat, now evolved into Watchog, nodded solemnly, its expression full of respect. On the other side, Heracross was doing something far more important. It was happily slurping sweet honey from a can, completely ignoring the conversation. Watchog, Swoobat, Heracross, Adino, Lilligant, Chansey, Freya declared, fists clenched with enthusiasm, we have to learn from that Pokémon master. We need to become just as strong, and help everyone too. Watchog, Swoobat, Adino, and the others all responded eagerly. Only Heracross remained focused on its honey. Hey, Heracross! Freya immediately felt a headache coming on. Stop eating already. You've had almost 8 cans of sweet honey today. Ah! She hurriedly rummaged through her coin purse, then froze. Oh no! Freya's face turned pale. The allowance Mom sent me is gone, and the subsidy from the Trainer Association is gone too. At this rate, we won't even have enough money left to take a Pokémon flying taxi to Lucian City. Hera? Heracross blinked innocently. Then, somehow, it pulled out a large, glittering object and placed it into Freya's hands. Hera! Take it! This is? Freya instantly recognized it. A big nugget? Her eyes widened. Where did you get this from? Hera! Heracross turned its head away, looking mysterious. Don't ask. Heracross has its own channels. Chapter 222. Arriving in Lucian City. Seeing Heracross's expression, Freya didn't feel relieved at all. Instead, her vision went dark. Why you didn't steal that from someone, did you? She blurted out. Hera? Heracross blinked innocently. You can't do things like that, Heracross. Freya panicked. You'll get arrested for stealing. The more she thought about it, the more alarmed she became. If Heracross really had stolen someone else's big nugget, she would be implicated too. Sure, as its trainer, she was supposed to face things together with it, but if something could be avoided, it was better to avoid it, right? Hera? Seeing Freya's reaction, Heracross finally stopped slurping honey. It looked at her seriously, as if it sensed how grave the situation had become. Did you really steal it from someone? Freya asked anxiously. Although Heracross was undeniably a glutton, it had always been reliable in battle. Hera! Heracross shook its head vigorously. This big nugget wasn't stolen, it had been picked up on the road. It wasn't stolen? Freya immediately let out a huge sigh of relief. As a trainer, she chose to trust her Pokémon. Hera! Heracross nodded firmly. That's good. Freya finally relaxed. Alright then, next, we're heading to Lucian City. First, they'd go to the Friendship Store, sell the Big Nugget, and buy tickets to Lucian City. As the Pokémon flying taxi lifted into the clear blue sky, the land below, towns, forests, and winding roads, gradually fell away. Wow! The boys and girls gazed down at the vast land beneath them, their hearts filled with anticipation as they headed toward the end of their journey. Kagome Village wasn't far from Lucian City. In less than 2 hours, Freya arrived at the capital of the Unova Kingdom. Standing at the entrance of the Pokémon Flying Taxi Company, she looked up at the largest and most prosperous city in Unova, unable to stop herself from marveling. Wow! Watchog, this place is huge! The streets were wide and immaculate, crowded with people. Trainers walking alongside their Pokémon could be seen everywhere. At this moment, Freya felt like a complete country bumpkin who had never seen the world. She walked down the street with Watchog, her eyes constantly darting toward the neat rows of shops on either side. Pokémon Bath Center? Is that a place just for Pokémon baths? Pokémon Beauty Salon, make your Pokémon even more beautiful? Wow, there's even something like that. Pokémon Snack Shop. Before Freya could finish reading the sign, she suddenly heard a crisp click from her pocket. A flash of white light followed. Heracross popped out of its Pokeball. Its eyes immediately locked onto the snacks displayed behind the glass window, and drool began pouring from its mouth. Hurrah! Freya's eyes widened. Her face twisted in despair. Heracross, we're almost out of money, okay? Sometimes, having such a gluttonous Pokémon really didn't feel like a blessing at all. Inside the castle, Lucian stood by the window, gazing down at the increasingly bustling streets as he listened to Elif's report. Your Majesty Lucian, Elif said, starting a few days ago, trainers from all over the region have begun arriving in Lucian City one after another. According to reports from the Grand Arena and the Trainer Association, as of now, 18 trainers from other cities have already arrived. 18. Lucian nodded thoughtfully. That number was well within his expectations. More trainers would surely arrive soon. There was very little time left before the final trainer celebration began. Originally, more than 3,000 youths of eligible age had received starter Pokémon from the Trainer Association. Now that a year had passed, how many of them would truly make it here? By the way, Your Majesty, Elif added after a brief pause, there's one more thing. Miss Anna has returned to Lucian City. Anna? Lucian raised an eyebrow slightly. He wasn't particularly surprised. After all, with Anna's personality, there was no way she would miss something like this. It's just... Elif hesitated. I don't know why Miss Anna hasn't come to see you yet. She's probably planning a surprise, Lucian replied slowly. Back then, when the Unova Kingdom was still neglected and desperately short of capable people, he had sent Anna, Gerald, and others to different cities to gain experience and temper themselves. Now that he thought about it, Anna must have gained a great deal over the past year. Very well, Lucian thought. I'll see for myself just how much that little girl, who once cried silently in the snow, has grown. The 151st year of the Kingdom calendar was drawing to a close. By mid-November, all trainers who had successfully collected 8 gym badges had gathered in Lucian City. According to statistics from the Trainer Association, a total of 78 trainers were participating in this tournament. Though they came from different cities and regions, they all shared the same goal: to become champion. At the same time, nobles and wealthy figures from across the kingdom also received the news. They purchased tickets and boarded steam trains bound for Lucian City, eager to witness the might and style of these elite trainers firsthand. On November 15th, before the tournament officially began, the first event to take place was a sacred ceremony: the Holy Fire Relay Ceremony. As per tradition, the participating trainers were required to travel to a cave outside Lucian City and retrieve the Fire of Truth left behind by the Dragon of Truth, Reshiram. They would then carry the flame back to the Grand Arena and ignite the Holy Fire Basin, announcing to the entire kingdom that the first Pokémon League tournament in Unova's history had officially begun. The trainers responded with overwhelming enthusiasm. Citizens flooded in to watch, drawn by the lively spectacle. Through the combined efforts of the participating trainers, the fire of truth was successfully delivered to the holy fire basin at the center of the grand arena. Whoosh! Brilliant flames roared skyward. "I hereby announce," the president of the Trainer Association shouted from atop the holy fire stage, his voice ringing clearly across the arena, "that the first Unova Kingdom League tournament has officially begun." The grand arena erupted instantly. Lucian City itself seemed to tremble with excitement, swept up in an unprecedented atmosphere of celebration. Aha! Cheers thundered from every direction as countless people looked forward to the birth of the strongest trainer. Inside the grand arena, the 78 participating trainers listened to the deafening roar outside, their expressions filled with excitement and anticipation. Anna, Derek, Freya, and even the 8 gym leaders. They exchanged glances, silent sparks of fighting spirit flashing between them. Outside, the president of the Trainer Association continued, clearly introducing the tournament rules to the audience. "Welcome, everyone, to the grand arena, to witness this historic event. Before we proceed to the drawing of lots, allow me to explain the competition rules. The first round will be the preliminary stage. All 78 contestants will participate in 2v2 battles. Each trainer may send out only 2 Pokémon. The winner advances. In the second round, the 39 winners will draw lots again. One trainer will receive a bye and automatically advance, while the remaining 38 will engage in another round of 2v2 battles to determine 19 winners. This will leave 20 trainers, who will compete in the top 20 to top 10 matches. At this stage, battle rules will change to 3v3. From the top 10 to top 5 stage onward. The president's voice rose dramatically. The rules will become 6v6 full battles. The crowd roared once more. Now that the rules have been explained, the president declared, we arrive at the most anticipated moment of all. The drawing of lots. Chapter 223, the preliminary round begins. Thunderous cheers rolled through the stands. The drawing of lots was about to begin. 78 contestants stepped into the center of the grand arena, splitting into 2 lines. In front of them stood 2 transparent glass boxes filled with numbered slips. 2 trainers who drew the same number would face each other in the qualifying round. Under the eager gaze of countless spectators, the contestants stepped forward one by one and drew their lots. "Oh, number 28? Freya looked down at the slip in her hand, momentarily surprised. She quickly scanned the crowd, searching for the person holding the same number. Soon, she found him. It was a gentleman dressed in a black tailcoat. "Hello, beautiful lady," the man said as he approached. He removed his top hat and bowed elegantly. "My name is Warren. It's a pleasure to meet you." Wow. Freya froze for a moment. This Mr. Warren was truly a gentleman. But, no matter how elegant he was, she had no intention of holding back once the battle began. Freya's eyes lit up with fighting spirit. Elsewhere, Derek calmly examined the number on his slip. Before he could react, a woman with a seductive figure stepped forward, laughing softly. He looks like I'm your opponent." She shot him a flirtatious glance, her voice dripping with temptation. "When we battle later, you'll be gentle with me, won't you? Otherwise, I might get very sad." Derek. Normally, he might have hesitated. But the reason he had entered this tournament was crystal clear. He wanted to win, so that his mother could live a better life. Derek looked at the woman calmly, already planning his strategy. His conclusion was swift. For the first match, he would demonstrate his strength to the world. He would send out his most powerful partner. Hydreigon, the 3-headed brutal Pokémon. On the other side of the arena, Alex, the gym leader of Castelia Gym, was staring at the number in his hand in disbelief. He rubbed his eyes, looked again, then slowly raised his head. Standing in front of him was a bright, smiling girl. Alex's face turned pale. Hey. Anna, he said weakly. Don't do this to me. He. Anna slipped an arm around his shoulder cheerfully. Alex, looks like fate really brought us together. Alex felt like crying. Why? Why did his first opponent have to be Anna? He had originally thought that reaching the quarterfinals would already count as success, but now? Was he about to be eliminated in the qualifying round? No, this couldn't be happening. Alex, Anna said encouragingly, patting him on the back. Make sure you give it everything you've got. Alex looked utterly devastated. It seems all contestants have found their qualifying round opponents. On the main stage, the president of the Trainer Association beamed at the young trainers before him. Now, I officially declare that the first league tournament in the history of the Unova Kingdom has begun. The crowd erupted. The first round of the qualifying matches will begin at 2 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated until then. Whoa! The stands exploded with cheers. Thanks to the extensive promotion by the Royal Gazette, news of this tournament had already spread across the entire kingdom. Countless people were watching with anticipation. The ultimate winner would become the first champion trainer in Unova's history, and receive personal guidance from His Majesty Lucian. A true meteoric rise. Because of this, the tournament required almost no additional publicity. The news spread like wildfire among the common people. Everyone wanted to witness that moment. To see the birth of the strongest. The opening ceremony came to an end. While the crowd buzzed with excitement, Anna quietly slipped away from the arena and headed toward the castle. The guards at the gate recognized her immediately and let her through. She had planned to sneak in quietly, just to take a look. But the moment she stepped inside, a familiar voice sounded behind her. So? You've been back for this long, and only now you decide to come see me? Anna startled and quickly turned her head. Not far away, her teacher stood there, smiling calmly at her. Teacher. Sneaking around like that, Lucian said mildly, what kind of behavior is that? Anna chuckled awkwardly and scratched her head. I originally wanted to give you a surprise, she admitted. I planned to show you, at the arena, how much Zoroark and I have grown over the past year. Lucian's expression shifted slightly. He looked at her more seriously. Are you confident? Anna knew exactly what her sensei was asking. She straightened, puffed out her chest, and answered without hesitation. Yes. Good. Lucian nodded. I personally trained you. I won't allow other trainers to look down on you, or on me. He looked at her steadily. Don't disappoint me, Anna. We definitely won't. Anna clenched her fists, her voice resolute. This champion title, it could belong to no one but her. She wanted to stand at the very top, to do more for His Majesty Lucian, to help him expand trainer culture and deepen the bond between humans and Pokémon. So that people across this vast land could truly live alongside Pokémon. That had always been Anna's goal. Because of Lucian, she and her mother had been able to live the life they had today. And on that snowy night long ago, Anna had already sworn in her heart to protect him for the rest of her life. 2 p.m. The first qualifying round officially began. The Lucian City Grand Arena was packed to capacity, nearly every seat filled. Amid thunderous cheers, Derek and his opponent walked out through the passageway and onto the battlefield. Minako covered her mouth lightly, her smile playful rather than serious. Next, let me show you just how impressive this big sister is. Derek remained silent. The referee stepped into the center of the field, raised the flag, and announced loudly. The first qualifying match. Contestant Derek, from Castelia City versus contestant Minako, from Ripple Town. In this match, both sides are limited to 2 Pokémon. The battle will end only when one side's Pokémon are completely unable to continue. The first match, begin. With a sharp whistle, the referee swung the flag down. Both trainers threw their Pokeballs at the same time. Whoosh! 2 flashes of white light erupted. On the left appeared a massive, three-headed dragon Pokémon, wings spread wide, radiating ferocious pressure. Hydreigon. On the right appeared a humanoid Pokémon with long blonde hair and red attire. Jynx. The opening battle of the tournament, Hydreigon vs. Jynx. Chapter 224, Lucario vs. Jynx. Hydreigon, Dragon Pulse. Derek's fighting style was direct and decisive, like that of a fearless warrior. From the very start, he chose to unleash a powerful offensive move. The three ferocious heads of Hydreigon glowed with dazzling purple light. In the next instant, a massive purple shockwave erupted from its mouths, tearing through the air as it surged straight toward Jynx. Hee Minako chuckled softly. So that's the kind of trainer you are, little brother? But attacking head-on like that won't win you any girl's favor. The Dragon Pulse closed in, and then, in the next moment, Jynx twisted its body with astonishing grace, sliding aside as if dancing. The purple energy blast roared past, missing its target entirely. Derek's pupils shrank. How did it dodge that? Then he noticed something. The ground beneath Jynx's feet was ice. In an instant, Derek understood. Jynx had used its ice-type energy to freeze the battlefield beneath it, turning the ground into a smooth ice sheet. Using that slick surface as leverage, it had glided aside with nimble, fluid movements, evading the Dragon Pulse completely. Before Derek could issue a follow-up command, Minako's tone shifted sharply. Enough playing around, she said coldly. Jynx, teach this rude brat a lesson. Use Lovely Kiss. As Jynx moved, frost spread further across the ground. It raised its full lips, striking a dramatic pose. Then clusters of pink, lip-shaped energy shot forward through the air. Hydreigon, dodge, now! Derek shouted. Hydreigon flapped its wings frantically, trying to evade. But one of the glowing lips struck it squarely in the face. At first glance, there was no visible damage. But something was wrong. Hydreigon's movements slowed unnaturally. Its three massive heads began to droop. One yawned. Then another. And finally, with a heavy thud, Hydreigon collapsed onto the battlefield, falling sound asleep before the eyes of countless spectators. It's down, fast asleep, someone shouted from the stands. Hydreigon. Derek called out urgently. He immediately realized that Lovely Kiss functioned similarly to a powerful sleep-inducing move. But no matter how loudly he shouted, Hydreigon was completely immersed in its dream, unable to respond. Minako smiled faintly. That's enough, little brother. We still need to move on. Jynx, finish it. Blizzard. A violent current of air erupted around Jynx. Its long golden hair whipped wildly as overwhelming ice-type energy surged outward. In that moment, Jynx looked like a witch commanding a frozen storm. A terrifying blizzard swept across the battlefield, carrying shards of ice, pebbles, and freezing snow. The raging ice-type energy slammed mercilessly into Hydreigon's massive body. Hydreigon finally stirred. But it was already too late. The blizzard engulfed it completely. Though it struggled to rise, its body trembled violently before collapsing once more, utterly unable to continue. The referee rushed forward, checked Hydreigon's condition, then raised the flag. Hydreigon has lost the ability to battle. The first round goes to contestant Minako. The stands erupted into thunderous cheers. Derek's expression darkened. No, he muttered. I can't let myself be shaken by the opponent's words again. He clenched his fist. Lucario, Derek said firmly. I'm counting on you next. Lucario stepped forward calmly, eyes sharp and focused. It took its place on the battlefield, facing Jynx directly. With a sharp whistle, the second battle officially began. Jynx, give it everything you've got. Minako shouted. Jin. A powerful surge of ice-type energy erupted from Jynx once more. The frost beneath its feet spread rapidly in all directions. And in the blink of an eye, the entire arena was transformed into a frozen battlefield. Like a dancer gliding across the stage, Jynx circled Lucario with nimble footwork, skating effortlessly over the frozen ground. Its movements were fluid and synchronized, constantly shifting position as it searched for the right moment to disrupt Lucario's rhythm and judgment. "Jinx, lovely kiss," Minako ordered, clearly intending to repeat the same tactic. But Derek had already learned his lesson. He wouldn't fall for the same trick twice. The moment he saw the pink, lip-shaped energy fly from Jinx's crimson lips, Derek spoke calmly. "Lucario, Aura Sphere." Lucario brought its palms together. A dense sphere of blue aura rapidly formed between its hands before being launched forward at high speed. Boom! The aura sphere collided head-on with Lovely Kiss in midair, triggering a violent explosion of energy that scattered light and frost in every direction. Minako raised an eyebrow in surprise. "You figured out a counter already?" But the battle wasn't over yet. Using the icy terrain beneath its feet, Jinx continued to slide and evade. Lucario fired several precise aura-based attacks, but each one was narrowly dodged as Jinx glided away with elegant movements. "Jinx, Blizzard!" Minako shouted, planning to overwhelm the field with a large-scale attack. But Derek didn't give her the chance. "Lucario, Stomp!" Lucario slammed its foot down. Crack! The frozen battlefield shattered instantly. Ice splintered outward in all directions, destroying the slick surface Jinx relied on and forcibly interrupting the buildup of blizzard. "How?" Minako exclaimed in shock. Derek's eyes sharpened. "Now, it's our turn. Lucario, quick attack!" Lucario's body blurred into a streak of white light. In an instant, it crossed the distance and struck Jinx with a sharp blow to the wrist, sending it staggering backward. "Jinx, keep your distance!" Minako called urgently. Derek didn't let up. "Don't give it a chance, Force Palm." Lucario pressed forward relentlessly. Silver-white fighting-type energy wrapped around its fists as blows rained down like bullets, each strike heavy and precise. Jinx cried out as it was knocked back, its body flung through the air. "Jinx! Get up!" Minako shouted in alarm. But Derek was already one step ahead. "Lucario, quick attack!" Flash! Before Jinx could even regain its footing, Lucario closed the distance once more. Derek's voice was calm and decisive. "Finish it! Close combat!" Lucario's aura exploded outward. Abandoning all defense, it poured every ounce of power into its fists and launched a ferocious, all-out assault. Boom! The impact echoed across the arena. Jinx was sent flying like a broken puppet, crashing hard onto the battlefield and sliding to a stop. The referee rushed forward, checked its condition, then raised the flag. Jinx is unable to battle. Victory goes to contestant Derek. The arena erupted. Derek stood silently, breathing steady, his expression composed. This was the culmination of a year of brutal training with fighting-type Pokémon. Overwhelming speed, relentless pressure, no room to breathe. A battle style designed to crush the opponent before they could react. Chapter 225, Aura. Ah ha ha. Minako sighed theatrically. "Little brother, you're really ruthless, no compassion, no tenderness at all." She shook her head helplessly. "Since that's the case, your big sister has no choice but to get serious." With a flick of her wrist, she recalled Jinx into its pokeball and drew out another. Derek said nothing. He simply stared at Minako, his gaze unwavering. He still hadn't fulfilled his promise, he hadn't yet given his mother the life she deserved. No matter what, nothing would stop him here. A flash of white light erupted. A massive Pokémon appeared opposite Lucario, its body resembling a vulture, long feathers tied back like a ponytail, a bone staff fastened in its hair, and jagged jawbones lining its wings and back. A dark and flying-type Pokémon. Mandibuzz. The final battle between contestant Derek and contestant Minako. The referee blew the whistle sharply. Lucario vs. Mandibuzz officially begins. Minako's tone was no longer playful. Mandibuzz, Bone Rush. Mandibuzz screeched as it dove from the air, bone weapons forming as it locked onto Lucario and crashed downward with savage momentum. Derek reacted instantly. Lucario, dodge. Lucario sprinted across the battlefield. Mandibuzz's attack smashed into the ground, missing by a hair. Minako frowned and immediately pressed the assault. Air slash. Almost simultaneously, Derek countered. Lucario, Aura Sphere. Whoosh! A razor-sharp blade of compressed air tore forward as a glowing blue sphere of aura rocketed to meet it. The two attacks collided mid-air. Boom! A violent explosion erupted, sending shockwaves rolling across the arena. Thick smoke billowed outward, completely obscuring both Pokémon from view. Lucario remained alert, stance low, and guarded. Derek's eyes narrowed. If I were her, I'd use the smoke to strike. Lucario, he ordered calmly, stay ready. Prepare to counter. Suddenly, Mandibuzz burst out of the smoke, its entire body wrapped in violently spinning air currents as it hurled itself forward like a living missile. It was Brave Bird. The audience gasped. But what happened next shocked them even more. Oh my god, Lucario! A wave of stunned cries swept through the stands. Lucario didn't retreat. Its aura surged violently, pushing past its limits. Blue energy exploded outward as Lucario charged forward, meeting Mandibuzz head-on. Boom! The collision was deafening. Mandibuzz was sent flying backward, slamming into a massive stone pillar at the edge of the arena before crashing to the ground and rolling several times. Lucario staggered, breathing heavily. The recoil from Brave Bird had clearly done serious damage. But Derek didn't hesitate. Lucario, end it. Mandibuzz, get up. Minako shouted desperately. But the massive recoil from Brave Bird had left Mandibuzz dizzy and disoriented. It struggled, wings twitching uselessly, unable to even stand, its vision spinning. Lucario was already moving. Its hands glowed as dense aura gathered, forming a crushing blow. Boom! The attack landed squarely, smashing into Mandibuzz's body and pinning it to the ground. Mandibuzz groaned, barely regaining consciousness, only to see Lucario standing right before it. What awaited it was the full force of a fighting-type Pokémon's most terrifying physical power. Finish it! Close combat! Lucario surged forward, aura blazing. The decisive blow landed. After taking the full force of the exchange, combined with the terrifying recoil from its own Brave Bird, Mandibuzz's eyes finally rolled back. Its body went limp, completely unable to move again. Lucario staggered and dropped to one knee, breathing heavily. The battle was over. It turned its head toward its trainer, its gaze steady, as if asking a single question. Did I do well? Lucario. Derek smiled and raised his thumb. You did an amazing job. The referee stepped forward, checked Mandibuzz's condition, then raised the flag. Mandibuzz has lost the ability to battle. In the first qualifying match, trainer Derek from Castelia City advances. Damn it! Minako stomped her foot in frustration, but it was already decided. A brief silence followed. Then the arena erupted. Cheers surged like a tidal wave as commoners and nobles alike celebrated the birth of a victor. Standing amid the roaring crowd, Derek clenched his fists. A strange, unfamiliar emotion welled up inside him. So this is what it feels like. To have your effort witnessed, and to win. Feeling a little awkward, he imitated the gentlemanly bow he had seen earlier, saluting the audience before recalling Lucario and heading backstage. In a quiet corner high in the stands, Lucien and Anna had watched the entire battle. Anna, Lucien said with a faint smile, it seems winning the championship won't be easy. These trainers had truly surprised him. In just 1 year, they had already reached this level. I won't lose so easily, Anna replied confidently, her faith in Zoroark unwavering. Lucien glanced at her. But do you know why that Mandibuzz lost? Anna thought carefully. Teacher, was it because Lucario used a move that doubled the damage? Lucian nodded slightly. So that's it. Anna's eyes lit up. Brave Bird already has terrifying power, and after the recoil and counterforce stack up, the total impact becomes overwhelming. Mandibuzz simply couldn't withstand it. Correct, Lucian said approvingly. But more importantly, Brave Bird is a move that charges forward without retreat. It uses immense impact force, but at the same time rapidly drains stamina and causes serious self-injury. He looked at Anna calmly. If you were to face a Lucario like that later, how would you deal with it? Of course I would have Zoroark use our strongest ability, Illusion, Anna replied without hesitation. Lucian chuckled and shook his head. If you rely on that alone, I'm afraid it won't be very effective against a Pokémon like Lucario. Why? Anna asked, puzzled. Because Lucario is an aura Pokémon, Lucian explained. They possess extraordinarily powerful aura perception. At certain levels, they do not even need their eyes. By relying solely on aura, they can sense their surroundings, objects, and even their opponent's movements. He paused, his tone turning serious. A sufficiently powerful Lucario can detect changes in the environment across several kilometers purely through aura. Chapter 226, Heracross, for the sake of sweet honey, I cannot lose. Anna's face lit up with sudden understanding. If that's the case, then this is going to be tricky. If that Lucario truly possessed aura-sensing abilities, then her and Zoroark's prized illusion would lose its effectiveness. Without a doubt, that trainer named Derek would be a formidable opponent. Anna fell into deep thought, strategizing her approach. Lucian smiled and continued watching the large arena below. The qualifying rounds were still ongoing. After the first match concluded, the second would begin immediately. Because the qualifying rules mandated 2v2 battles with each trainer limited to 2 Pokémon, individual matches progressed quickly. Even with the entire morning session plus a lunch break, they'd barely reached the halfway point. The final morning match pitted Anna against Alex. Lucian knew both trainers well. One was his personally trained disciple, while the other belonged to the first group of young people to receive their starter Pokémon and begin their journeys. The outcome was predictable. Anna claimed victory decisively. Alex's team was utterly overwhelmed by Anna's Zoroark and its masterful use of illusion. Having lost his chance to advance, Alex nearly broke down in tears right there in the arena. Fortunately, Anna's kind words consoled him, and he reluctantly accepted defeat, vowing to train harder and return stronger next year. In the afternoon, the second half of the qualifying rounds commenced. Lucian finished his royal duties and hurried to the main arena to watch alongside the crowd. Whether due to their limited training time or not, this group of trainers hadn't displayed particularly impressive strength overall. However, during this session, Lucian discovered an intriguing young woman. Her name was Freya. Her opponent was Warren, a refined gentleman from a prestigious aristocratic family. In the first match, Freya sent out Watchog while Warren deployed Purloin. A fierce cat-and-mouse battle erupted, literally, but ultimately both Pokémon knocked each other out simultaneously. The second match proved even more intense. Freya released Heracross while Warren called forth Zebstrika, its entire body crackling with electricity. Just like the opening bout, both Pokémon charged at each other the instant they hit the field. Zebstrika reared back, lightning dancing across its striped coat. Zebstrika, wild charge. Warren commanded. Electricity enveloped the electric type as it galloped forward like a living thunderbolt. Heracross braced itself, horn blowing with energy. Mega Horn! Freya shouted. The two collided in an explosion of sparks and force. Heracross skidded backward, scorched marks spreading across its exoskeleton, while Zebstrika stumbled from the recoil damage. Pin Missile. Heracross fired a barrage of glowing needles, but Zebstrika weaved between them with surprising agility. Flame Charge! Warren called out. Zebstrika's body ignited with flames as it charged again, slamming into Heracross and sending the bug-type tumbling across the battlefield. The brutal exchange continued, Brick Break met Discharge, close combat clashed with Thunder Wave. Both Pokémon's stamina rapidly depleted with each devastating blow.
Finally, Warren's Zebstrika seized an opening. Thunderbolt, now!
A massive bolt of lightning erupted from Zebstrika's mane, striking her across dead center. The Bug-N fighting type cried out and crashed to the ground, seemingly unconscious. Even the referee thought it was over. Lucian himself initially believed the match had concluded. Just as the referee raised his flag to announce the result, Freya suddenly shouted with desperate urgency, "Heracross! If you win this battle, I'll use my remaining allowance to buy you 10 bottles of sweet honey." The supposedly unconscious Heracross immediately opened its eyes and stared questioningly at its trainer, as if asking, "Is everything you just said true?" Freya nodded vigorously. "That's right. As long as you win." Heracross went berserk. Its wounds forgotten, fighting spirit blazing in its eyes, the bug type surged to its feet. Energy gathered around its horn, glowing with brilliant intensity. "Heracross, Mega Horn!" Freya cried. "Zebstrika, dodge it!" Warren shouted in alarm. But Heracross was unstoppable. With impossible speed for its injured state, it charged forward, horn blazing. Zebstrika attempted to sidestep, but Heracross adjusted mid-charge. Crack! The horn connected with devastating force, lifting Zebstrika completely off the ground. The electric type flew through the air and crashed down hard, electricity sparking weakly before fading entirely. Warren, the referee, and the entire stunned audience watched in disbelief as Zebstrika let out a final cry before collapsing, completely unconscious. Heracross turned toward Freya. "Hera! Hera!" Freya's face showed helpless resignation. I know. Don't worry, I'll keep my promise." Hearing the satisfactory reply, Heracross lay down contentedly, closed its eyes, and wore an expression of pure bliss. The entire arena fell silent. After a long moment, the referee finally shook himself from his stupor, raised his flag, and announced, "Zebstrika is unable to battle. The victor is Freya, who advances from the qualifying round." Lucian. This could be considered a bond between humans and Pokémon, right? Probably? At 5:00 p.m., the first Unova Kingdom Pokémon Tournament qualifying rounds concluded successfully. 39 advancing contestants would compete in a new round of battles at the Grand Arena the day after tomorrow. Amidst the thunderous cheers of the crowd, Lucian quietly returned to the castle. Shortly after, Olaf arrived, his face beaming with joy. "Your Highness Lucian, this competition has proven incredibly popular among the people. Every match in the arena was completely sold out. Even on my way here today, I could hear people discussing the competition and the contestants on every street corner. The Eindhoven Kingdom had never experienced such a grand spectacle since its founding." The old butler seemed genuinely amazed. Hearing this, Lucian smiled. "This is just the beginning. After this competition concludes, even more people will choose to become trainers. By this time next year, Lucian's city will be even more bustling. That's truly remarkable." Olaf couldn't help but murmur in wonder. Lucian observed his kingdom's outward transformation. The Unova Kingdom's culture was flourishing and prosperous, and this highly anticipated Pokémon tournament provided his people with spiritual fulfillment and entertainment. This single event alone had already brought him nearly 500,000 satisfaction points. Books, it seems, are more important to some people than material possessions when it comes to fulfilling spiritual needs. Lucian murmured softly. He opened the technology tree interface. With the unification of the kingdom and the steady population growth, nearly every day brought him substantial amounts of satisfaction points. During this period, he'd unlocked almost all the technologies of the industrial age. The next breakthrough would be. Lucian turned his attention toward the technologies awaiting activation. Generator, a generator based on electric-type Pokémon's power generation principles. Required 300,000 satisfaction points. Electric lamp, a lighting device powered by electricity. Required 50,000 satisfaction points. Studying these technological items, Lucian narrowed his eyes and fell into deep thought. he realized that the Pokémon world's electrical technology differed vastly from the electrical development of his previous life. Electricity already existed in this world. Nearly every electric-type Pokémon possessed the natural ability to generate substantial electrical currents. It's just that in this era, humanity hadn't yet conceived of harnessing their methods for practical applications. This meant that in their research on electricity, they could skip numerous developmental stages entirely, leaping directly from the steam age into the electrical age and achieving groundbreaking progress. Electric storage. Lucian's mind flashed back to memories from the anime, where Ash encountered the Pikachu-powered generators at Pokémon centers. They were somewhat similar to hamster wheels, generating electricity through Pikachu's natural discharge ability as they ran. In fact, even in modern times, many power plants utilized electric-type Pokémon to generate electricity. Pokémon like Electivire, just a single one, could supply all the electrical needs for a large city's buildings for an entire year. Chapter 227, The Birth of Electricity. Compared to the bustling arena on the other side of the city, the research institute was eerily quiet. Scholar Rick was gazing curiously at the Pokémon before him, a creature with a gray body, a single eye centered in its spherical form, and a peculiar horseshoe-shaped magnet on each side.
A Magnemite, an electric-type Pokémon.
According to Rick's research, this type of Pokémon possesses a very strange power within its body, which he had taken to calling electricity. As a researcher, Rick suddenly found himself struck by a new idea. Fire-type Pokémon could use flames as energy, so what about the electricity of electric-type Pokémon? An image flashed through his mind, a thunderstorm, lightning splitting the sky, igniting raging fires in the treetops. But electrical energy, when it appeared, also emitted light. If they could collect and store this electrical energy, wouldn't it be possible to replace kerosene lamps and introduce an entirely new source of lighting for Lucian City? He felt a completely new world slowly unfolding before him. Your subject, Rick, has become interested in electric-type Pokémon's electricity. Rick has begun researching electricity. Inside the castle, Lucian had just exchanged for a generator, electric lamp, and other electrical technologies. He was preparing to hand them over to the craftsman at the Royal Workshop for further research when he suddenly noticed this notification appear on the territories board. Rick? Interested in electricity? Lucian looked at the notification with quiet enthusiasm. Interesting. He suddenly recalled a thought that had lingered in the back of his mind. If he hadn't used his ability to unlock these technologies, could the people of this era have eventually developed electric lamps and similar technologies entirely on their own? The answer was, of course, yes. It would simply be a matter of time. Since that's the case, let's add fuel to the fire. Lucian summoned Elif and instructed him to deliver the blueprints and technical documents to the craftsman at the Royal Workshop. Yes, Your Majesty, Elif replied. Having carried out such tasks so many times that it had become second nature, he accepted the blueprints without hesitation and turned to leave. Wait a moment. What is it, Your Majesty? Elif paused, turning back to face Lucian. I've heard that Rick is currently researching electric-type Pokémon. Have him come to the Royal Workshop to collaborate with the craftsman. Lucian said. Perhaps Rick would bring him a pleasant surprise. After a brief moment of surprise, Elif nodded. Yes, Your Majesty. Back at the Research Institute, when Rick received the news, he was instantly stunned. His Majesty is inviting me to visit the Royal Workshop, he asked, barely able to believe it. What could His Majesty possibly want from me? His Majesty said you'll understand once you arrive, Elif replied with a smile. All right then, Rick said with a nod. He set down his research materials and followed Elif through the city toward the Royal Workshop, located in the heart of Lucian. The moment he stepped inside, he was captivated by the sight before him. Spread across a large central table were numerous miniature objects, a small-scale replica of the familiar steam train, a detailed model of the entire city of Lucian, and even a model of the original steam engine itself. A group of craftsmen and scholars were huddled around one of the tables, deep in discussion. Scattered around the room were several electric-type Pokémon, including Mareep, Magnemite, and various electric-type bug Pokémon. As Rick stepped further inside, he caught fragments of the workers' conversation. A Pokémon bioenergy generator, an entirely different power source from a steam engine.
Utilizing the electrical power of electric-type Pokémon as the primary propulsion system. That's truly an unimaginable marvel.
A light bulb, a tool used for illumination, using a tungsten filament.
I recall that the nearest refinery on the other side recently acquired a batch of black ore, didn't it? If so, let's have them give it a try. Following the workshop master's command, the entire royal workshop immediately burst into motion, like a massive machine roaring to life. Rick watched the scene unfold, observing the craftsmen moving back and forth with purpose. Although he didn't fully understand the Emperor's intentions, he remained quietly at the side, watching with keen interest. On the first day, the craftsmen used crystal to craft a glass casing, similar in shape to an ordinary cage. On the third day, the black ore processed by the smelting plant was delivered, and the craftsmen carefully transformed it into tungsten filaments. On the seventh day, after extensive work by the craftsmen and carpenters, the world's first bioenergy generator was officially completed. Rick watched as the craftsmen assembled all the components together. Then, an electric-type Pokémon was brought forward to power it.
Immediately afterward, a miraculous scene unfolded before everyone's eyes.
The small crystal casing flickered, and then, an incredibly bright light shone forth. It was electric lamp, research successful. One worker whispered in disbelief. A miracle.
His Majesty Lucian has done it again, another cried out, his voice trembling with excitement. Traditional kerosene lamps consumed enormous amounts of kerosene. In comparison, this device, the electric lamp, could illuminate a room effortlessly using nothing more than the power of a Pokémon. And the electricity a Pokémon expended could be fully replenished with just a single berry. More importantly, from this day forward, Lucian City would no longer be swallowed by darkness at night. In that moment, everyone in the room truly understood the significance of what they had just created. And Rick finally understood why His Majesty Lucian had sent him here. The power of electric-type Pokémon could indeed be harnessed as a source of energy. So then, what about the other types? Where were their limits? Fire-type Pokémon could assist with heat and industry. Grass-type Pokémon could help with harvesting. Ground-type Pokémon could aid in planting. Water-type Pokémon could help with irrigation, and the more powerful ones could even temporarily alter the weather. And now, electric-type Pokémon could generate electricity. There were so many Pokémon in this world, so many types yet to be fully understood by humanity. What other powers were waiting to be discovered? Rick's heart swelled with excitement. He bid farewell to everyone at the Royal Workshop, turned on his heel, and ran back toward the Research Institute with renewed energy, eager to begin an entirely new round of research. Meanwhile, back in the castle, Lucian was gazing with quiet enthusiasm at the small light bulb sitting on the table before him. "Come now, Dragonite, would you help generate some electricity?" Roar! Dragonite stepped forward eagerly, grasping the electric lamp in its large hands. With a surge of electricity, the small, magical bulb flickered to life, glowing brilliantly. Woo! Dragonite's eyes lit up, transfixed by the light. "Your Majesty, the generator and light bulb have both been completed. Our craftsmen are currently working to reproduce them on a large scale. It won't be long before electric lighting can be expanded across the entire city," Elif reported. Lucian gave a small nod. This was only the beginning. The next goal was to bring electricity to all of Unova, so that every citizen, in every corner of the region, could have access to electric light. Once that was achieved, humanity would no longer have to fear the darkness. And yet, much like the laying of railway tracks, this was an enormous undertaking. It would require time, resources, and unwavering dedication to see it through. Chapter 228, Better. The first league tournament is still in full swing. After the first round of qualifying matches, the even more intense knockout rounds have begun. Lucian didn't attend to observe, he heard the results secondhand from Elif. Meanwhile, the Royal Factory's large-scale production was proceeding at a frantic pace.
Skilled craftsmen blew glass casings and carefully fixed refined tungsten filaments onto lamp holders. Elif then assembled the electric lights and paired each one with a small bioenergy generator. Every day, he would visit the factory to inspect progress and report back to Lucien in a timely manner. In the castle study, Lucien stood before a slightly scaled-down model of Lucien's city, gazing at the roads etched into it with a distant, longing look in his eyes. First, we lay the road from the castle and the central avenue outward, then gradually extend it into the residential areas and the factory districts. We must ensure that every single light bulb can be properly illuminated. Yes, Your Majesty, Elif replied. Dragonite leaned to one side, its face full of curiosity as it examined the electric lights on the table. Every so often, it would pick up a bulb and release a faint current through its fingertips, coaxing the glass to glow. The behavior amused Lucien. He smiled, reached over, and stroked Dragonite's head, his mind already turning toward far more ambitious plans. Electricity could not only illuminate and banish darkness. It could power machinery, enhance training, revolutionize transportation, and, combined with the abilities of Pokémon, give rise to tools of extraordinary power. Universal electrification was just the first step in Unova's rise. Beyond that lay unexplored Pokémon abilities, a perfected power system, and an ever-expanding grid that would one day bring light to every corner of the region. A few days later, Lucien City's first bio-based power plant officially opened its doors. Inside, the workers looked at the electric-type Pokémon gathered before them, their faces filled with cautious wonder. With these little guys, can they really supply the whole city with electricity? One worker reached out and patted a magneton on the head, then nodded confidently. Absolutely. His Majesty Lucien ordered it himself. At the mention of the king's name, his eyes lit with fervent admiration. His Majesty said the machines can capture the Pokémon's electrical output, and more than that, they emit a special electromagnetic field that draws electric types here naturally, turning this place into their home. And the electricity they release just going about their day becomes the city's power source, he finished. His Majesty called it the highest form of symbiosis between Pokémon and humanity. The workers turned to look at their new charges. Magnemite, Magneton, Jolteon, and by the looks on their faces, these Pokémon seemed genuinely content. So next, we string the power lines through the whole city? Already underway, Jero and his crew started this morning. Under the foreman's direction, the workers quickly fell into their rhythm. Amid the bewildered and curious stares of Lucien City's residents and visiting tourists, crews erected concrete poles along every major street. Within a few days, the city's first main avenue blazed with streetlights. As night fell, dozens of electric bulbs switched on at once. Their warm, steady white light swept away the darkness and lit the streets as bright as noon. Passers-by froze in their tracks, heads tilted upward, faces caught between wonder and awe, some almost afraid of the miracle before them. The streetlights shone clean and unwavering, unlike anything fire or candle had ever offered. "Mommy, what is that? It's so bright." A small child on the street tugged at her mother's sleeve, eyes wide. "That's an electric lamp, sweetheart, invented by His Majesty Lucien, so we'll never have to sit in the dark again." The woman's voice carried a tremor of genuine excitement. No more dim, reeking kerosene smoke. No more groping through blackened streets at night. Children ran circles beneath the glowing poles, laughing. Adults gathered in small clusters, speaking in low, hushed tones, their eyes full of quiet dreams for the future. The following morning, residents flooded the department store to buy electric lamps for their homes. By the time night fell again, Lucien City blazed like a second sun. Every visiting tournament spectator who witnessed it wore the same expression, one of profound and speechless admiration. Inside the castle, Lucien stood on the rooftop with his Pokémon, watching the city below, windows glowing, streets shimmering, the whole of it alive with light. Dragonite leaned against the window, gazing out at the brilliantly lit city below. It let out a gentle, soft cry, as though it somehow understood that this world, transformed by the advent of electricity and the growing bond between humans and Pokémon, was becoming something more beautiful with every passing day. Lucien could almost picture it, his people gathered around electric lights in their homes, sharing warm meals,
while children laughed and chased Pokémon through the streets in the golden glow of the evening.
Perhaps this was the meaning of his being here.
Perhaps this was what he had come to build.
He watched the city breathe with light, his heart full of quiet anticipation. He knew that before long, electricity would reach every corner of Unova.
Humanity would bid farewell, once and for all, to darkness and stagnation, and step forward into a new era.
An era of harmonious coexistence between humans and Pokémon.
An era where science and nature grew together, not apart. Kingdom Calendar, Year 151, December 1st. After several grueling rounds of competition, the first Unova Kingdom Pokémon Tournament's top 10 had been decided, and the knockout stage was now officially underway. 10 competitors whittled down to 5, full 6v6 battles, no holding back.
In the great arena, Lucian and Elif sat in the VIP box, watching the fierce battles play out below.
The higher the stakes climbed, the clearer it became, every trainer who had made it this far was extraordinary. Only 5 spots remained, and the weight of that fact hung over every match.
Elif understood Lucian's intentions better than anyone.
Beyond the ultimate champion, the remaining 4 victors would be appointed as the 4 heavenly kings, guardians of the kingdom, protectors of peace across all of Unova.
The match currently underway was the first of the top 10 bouts. Derek faced a female trainer named Elsa, and the battle had reached a fever pitch.
Both sides had spent their reserves, and the outcome remained impossible to call. On Derek's side, only Lucario and a gravely wounded Hydreigon remained. Elsa still had her Azumarill and a Jolteon, both in considerably better shape.
Elif, who do you think wins this? Lucian asked, eyes bright with excitement.
Elif smiled wryly and shook his head.
Your Majesty, you know I understand nothing about Pokémon battles.
That's fine, just guess.
It doesn't matter if you're wrong.
Elif studied the 2 trainers on the field for a moment, then said, I think Elsa will win.
Oh?
Lucian turned to him with interest.
Why? Because Derek's Hydreigon is already severely wounded. And while Lucario hasn't even entered the arena yet, Elsa's Jolteon still has plenty of stamina left.
Her Azumarill is also in far better condition than the Hydreigon.
Elif paused. The numbers simply favor her. Lucian nodded slowly, his gaze drifting back to Derek.
From everything he had observed, this man's bond with his Pokémon ran far deeper than most, and his team bore the unmistakable mark of rigorous, disciplined training. A bond that surpasses the ordinary, combined with relentless effort, had a way of producing miracles. He found himself hoping for one now.
Down on the battlefield, the referee raised his flag. Derek, please send out your next Pokémon.
Derek exhaled steadily. He reached for the Pokeball containing his battered Hydreigon, ran his thumb gently across its surface, then set it aside. His hand moved to a different ball. His eyes were calm and resolved.
Lucario, I'm counting on you.
The ball arced upward. A burst of white light, and Lucario landed with quiet precision, a faint blue aura already rippling across its body. It glanced back at Derek, just once, its eyes carrying the full weight of trust.
It knew what this moment meant. Azumarill, Water Gun.
Elsa moved first, her voice crisp and confident.
Azumarill sprang forward.
A high-pressure stream of water shot toward Lucario with startling speed.
Agility, then Aura Sphere.
Lucario's body flickered like a shadow, slipping clean through the water gun. In the same breath, it compressed a dense ball of blue energy between its palms and drove it straight into Azumarill's side.
Elsa's expression shifted. Azumarill, protect. Too late.
The aura sphere connected squarely, sending Azumarill stumbling backward several steps. It steadied itself, but the damage was plain to see.
Lucario, extreme speed. Lucario became a streak of white, crossing the arena in an instant.
Elsa called her counter the moment she saw it coming, but even her sharp reflexes couldn't match the sheer velocity of the move. Azumarill was launched off its feet and hit the ground hard.
There's no coming back from that, someone in the crowd murmured. Azumarill is unable to battle, the referee announced. Elsa, please send out your next Pokémon. Elsa drew a slow breath, recalled Azumarill, and then made her decision.
A flash of white light erupted across the arena, and Jolteon materialized opposite Lucario, crackling with barely contained electricity, its needle-sharp fur standing on end.
Jolteon, Thunderbolt, now!
Jolteon's body blazed with blinding light. A torrent of electricity screamed toward Lucario.
Bone Rush, block it, then close in. Lucario condensed a bone staff from pure aura energy and spun it at blistering speed.
The thunderbolt struck the spinning staff and scattered in a brilliant cascade of sparks.
For a breathless moment, lightning filled the air in every direction.
Then Lucario launched itself forward.
It drove toward Jolteon with ferocious momentum, but Jolteon was faster than it looked.
In an instant, the electric type redirected its current, threading it like a net to lock onto Lucario mid-charge.
Lucario reacted on instinct, compressing a sphere of blue aura between its palms and firing it point-blank.
Aura and Thunderbolt collided in the center of the arena. The resulting explosion was deafening. A shockwave of raw energy tore outward in every direction, and both Pokémon were hurled back by the force of it, landing hard and sustaining serious injuries in the same instant. In the VIP box, Elif leaned forward, his expression shifting with genuine surprise. He had not expected Lucario to neutralize a thunderbolt that way.
Lucian's lips curved slightly.
His eyes burned with anticipation. On the field, Jolteon was panting heavily. Lucario's breathing had grown ragged too, its body marked with wounds, but it stood.
Planted firmly in the center of the arena, gaze locked unwaveringly on its opponent. Jolteon, Thunder Punch, everything you have left.
Elsa's voice was tight but steady.
Lucario.
Derek's voice dropped low, almost quiet.
Give it everything. Full aura, now. He couldn't lose. He absolutely could not lose.
His mother's future rested on this. Every grueling day of training, every sacrifice, it had all led here.
Lucario. Please. Hold on. As if it had heard every unspoken word, Lucario glanced back at its trainer, just for a fraction of a second.
Then it charged.
Blue aura and yellow lightning tore toward each other across the arena.
They met in a blinding collision, flooding every corner of the stadium with light.
The crowd fell silent for one suspended moment. Then the dust settled. Jolteon lay on the ground, motionless. Jolteon is unable to battle. The referee's flag snapped up. Derek wins. The arena erupted. Thunderous applause rolled through the stands like a wave.
Derek ran forward and threw his arms around Lucario, pulling it close. His shoulders shook.
He didn't try to hide the tears. Up in the VIP box, Lucian smiled and turned to his advisor. It seems your prediction was off, Elif.
Elif laughed quietly, his voice warm with admiration.
So it was. The bond between Derek and Lucario is something else entirely.
Lucian looked back down at the two figures embracing in the center of the arena, his expression thoughtful and unhurried.
Only someone like that deserves to be a guardian of Unova. One of the 4 Heavenly Kings' seats already had a name on it.
Not far away, in the waiting area beneath the stands, Anna stood at the mouth of the corridor, eyes fixed on the arena. The fire in her gaze was already lit. Her match was next. Across from her stood her opponent, a young man in an ornate robe, dressed in the unmistakable fashion of old nobility. They sized each other up across the passageway for a brief, wordless moment. Then both turned and walked toward the stage.
Your Majesty, Miss Anna is entering the arena, Elif said. Lucian's tone was calm.
He had studied her opponent's previous matches carefully. Arthur was talented, polished, even, but if he fought Anna relying solely on what he had shown so far, it wouldn't be enough. More importantly, no one in the entire tournament had yet forced Anna to reveal her true ace.
Zoroark hadn't set foot on the field once.
As Lucian expected, the match was decisive without ever being close. Arthur had skill, and his tactical instincts were sharper than his age suggested, but against Anna, a trainer with years of seasoned experience, every strategy he attempted was read and dismantled before it could take shape. In the end, he resorted to attrition, trading 6 of his Pokémon to bring down 3 of hers. For someone with barely a year of training behind him, it was a respectable showing. But it wasn't enough. In the second bout of the top 10 stage, Anna advanced. She stood in the arena below, celebrating with her Pokémon, and then, as if sensing something, she paused. She turned her head and looked upward, scanning the rows of the VIP box until her eyes found his. Lucian smiled and gave a small, quiet nod. Chapter 229, The Grand Tournament ends. With the second round of the top 10 stage concluded, the tournament had entered its most ferocious phase yet. Inside the arena, the battles were relentless. Outside, the atmosphere was no less electric. In the inns, the dining halls, along every street corner, the people of Unova could talk of nothing else. 8 competitors remained, and the question on every tongue was the same: who would be the last one standing? Inside the castle, Lucian reclined in a lounge chair, unhurriedly enjoying his black tea. It had been brewed from leaves harvested by his people from the meadows where deerling grazed, faintly sweet, with a clean, floral fragrance that lingered on the palate. Quite good, all things considered. Beyond the castle walls, the distant arena thundered with cheers. Within, all was calm and still. A group of Minccino chased each other gleefully through the courtyard in a game of hide-and-seek, while in the ecological garden behind the castle, the Pokémon who had once been hurt by human hands lay stretched out lazily in the afternoon sun. In the inner chambers, a few familiar faces sat near Lucian, their own Pokémon dozing contentedly at their feet. The tournament wasn't over yet, but in this quiet, Lucian could already see the shape of what came after. Once the Elite Four and the champion were decided, he would entrust all Pokémon-related affairs of the kingdom to those 5. They would handle it in his name. He could hardly think of it without smiling. "Your Majesty." Olive's measured footsteps approached from behind. The old butler came to a stop beside the lounge chair and bowed his head slightly. The 4th round has concluded. Only one match remains before the 5 finalists are confirmed. Lucian closed his eyes. No rush. Be patient, Olive. Yes, Your Majesty. Time moved quietly. Then, before long, a guard's voice cut through the stillness. Reporting to Your Majesty, the top 10 stage is complete. The 5 finalists are Miss Anna, Freya, Derek, Lucas, and Raphael. Lucian opened his eyes and laughed softly. It seems the champion is somewhere among those 5. Does Your Majesty wish to attend the remaining bouts? Olive asked. Lucian shook his head. He had a reasonable sense of each finalist's capability, and the eventual outcome wasn't difficult to foresee. This was not a storybook. A single year of training, however passionate, could rarely overcome years of genuine seasoned experience. Only a handful of people in the world could manage it. And reality, as it turned out, matched his expectations precisely. Over the next 2 days, Lucas, Raphael, and Sakura were eliminated in succession. The 3 of them claimed the lower 3 positions among the Elite Four, no small honor. But the final question, champion or top Elite Four, would be settled between Anna and Derek alone. 2 days later, the grand final began. By the time the sun had fully risen, the arena was already full to bursting. Every seat on the ground level was occupied, and the tiered stands above them were packed just as tightly. Those who had arrived too late to find seats took to the sky entirely, hiring flying-type Pokémon taxis to hover above the arena, watching the match from the open air. The roar of the crowd was deafening, a wall of sound so thick it seemed capable of shaking the rafters loose. Every eye in that arena was trained on the 2 trainers standing at opposite ends of the field. On the left, Derek, dressed in dark blue training gear, his gaze as sharp and still as a hawk's. He carried a fierce, coiled energy, the kind that didn't need to announce itself. He had been the undisputed standout of the tournament, steamrolling opponent after opponent with his dragon and fighting-type lineup, and he had arrived at the final looking like he expected to win. On the right, Anna. Strong-framed, composed, her long golden hair pulled back into a high ponytail. She was smiling, the relaxed, easy smile of someone who had nothing to prove and everything to gain. but her eyes were alight with fighting spirit.
Both trainers have confirmed their lineups.
The referee's voice rang out through the loudspeakers, crisp and clear above the noise of the crowd.
6-on-6, full battle. The match ends when all Pokémon on one side are unable to continue. Begin. Derek. 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 Anna, don't let him walk over you.
The stands buzzed and churned. Most of the noise seemed to favor Derek. His reputation in this tournament had been overwhelming, and people expected dominance.
Derek's arm swept upward. The Pokeball cut a clean arc through the air. First up, don't disappoint me, Lucario. A burst of blue-white light. Lucario landed with a bone-shaking crash, both feet driving deep into the arena surface, cracks spiderwebbing outward from the point of impact.
The dual pressure of fighting and steel-type energy radiated outward in a wave, filling the arena.
Lucario's eyes were clear and locked, steady as iron.
Anna tilted her head slightly, a faint smile on her lips.
Lucario first? Then we won't hold back either.
She raised her own Pokeball.
Braviary, let's go.
A whirlwind tore upward from the arena floor. Braviary burst into the sky, its wingspan stretching well over 3 meters, broad wings beating in long, powerful strokes as it wheeled above. Its sharp eyes swept the arena below with cool precision.
Battle, begin. Derek didn't waste a breath.
Lucario, Metal Claw, straight at it, full force. Lucario exploded off the ground like a loosed arrow. Its right claw gleamed, sheathed in hard, cold metal, and it drove upward toward Braviary with a tearing hiss of displaced air.
Dodge, then use Brave Bird.
Anna's voice was perfectly calm. Braviary's wings folded and snapped open again in a single fluid motion, carrying it clear of the Metal Claw by a razor's margin. Then its entire body ignited with a violent surge of flying-type energy, and it plummeted, a golden comet driving straight down.
The impact was tremendous. The shockwave rolled across the arena in a visible pulse. Lucario was driven backward repeatedly, its feet carving deep furrows into the floor, and a series of wounds opened across its body in an instant. Derek's eyes went wide. What? He hadn't anticipated that. Braviary had moved as if it had already known exactly what was coming.
Aura Sphere. Derek recovered fast, his voice snapping back to steadiness.
A dense ball of blue energy condensed between Lucario's palms, crackling with aura pressure, and launched toward Braviary. Whirlwind. Braviary's wings swept downward in one measured stroke.
The violent gust of air hit the aura sphere and tore it apart, scattering it harmlessly in every direction, and in the same motion, a razor-edged air slash followed.
Lucario staggered.
It tried to right itself.
It fought to stand. It couldn't. Lucario is unable to battle. The arena erupted in shocked noise. No one had expected this.
The tournament's most dominant trainer had lost his opening Pokémon before landing a single decisive blow.
Knocked out in an instant. Lucario. Derek's heart sank. He recalled Lucario without hesitation and threw out his second Pokeball. Don't underestimate it, Druddigon, go. The crimson-scaled dragon roared into the arena, its dragon-type aura rolling outward, its rough and powerful hide radiating unstoppable brute force. Braviary, Tailwind. Braviary beat its great wings, and a pale blue whirlwind swept across the entire field. Derek's heart tightened. Druddigon, Dragon Claw, interrupt it.
Druddigon snarled and charged forward, but with Tailwind's blessing, Braviary dodged with ease, its air slash striking again and again, steadily wearing down Druddigon's movements.
Brave Bird, finish it.
The surging, swirling energy crashed down in one decisive blow. Druddigon's massive body hit the ground with a thunderous crash and did not rise. Derek had lost 2 Pokémon in quick succession, his expression growing grimmer by the second.
He and his opponent were operating on completely different levels, and he knew it.
But the battle continued.
Beartic, I'm counting on you, Icicle Crash.
The great ice bear struck the ground, and countless sharp shards of ice rained down from above.
The sudden wide-scale attack caught Braviary off guard.
The massive ice column connected squarely, Ice-type moves striking hard against Flying-type, and Braviary's wings froze.
It shrieked and fell. "Braviary, get up!" Anna called out immediately. But Derek wasn't about to let the opportunity pass. "Beartick, Ice Beam!"
The freezing beam swept across the field and engulfed the grounded Braviary completely.
Braviary is unable to battle. Both sides had now taken a loss. The atmosphere in the arena grew tighter. Not bad.
Anna recalled Braviary, a smile crossing her face.
"Magmar, your turn." Flames surged as Magmar stepped proudly into the arena. The scorching heat radiated outward immediately, its fire-type aura bearing down hard on Beartick. Close combat. Derek gambled on aggression. Beartick roared and charged with tremendous brute force. Flamethrower. Blazing flames swallowed everything.
Ice met fire, and in that collision, Beartick's thick fur, so imposing moments before, proved hopelessly fragile against the heat.
Fire punch, finish it.
A blazing fist crashed squarely into Beartick's skull.
The great bear dropped instantly. Derek gritted his teeth and threw out a new pokeball.
A flash of white light, and Haxorus emerged, powerful, imposing, one of his true aces this tournament. He knew he was at a serious disadvantage now. He refused to accept it, but the gap in strength was undeniable. He forced himself to stay composed.
Haxorus, Dragon Dance.
Haxorus swung its twin axe blades wide, its energy surging as its attack and speed climbed sharply.
Its dragon-type aura filled the arena with a palpable pressure. Fire Blast.
Anna's command was quiet and unhurried. The flames erupted.
Haxorus took the hit and didn't budge, steady as a mountain. Dragon Claw, now. The axe blades came down with overwhelming force.
Magmar had no time to dodge.
It was an instant knockout. Anna's eyes narrowed slightly.
This was exactly the kind of battle she wanted. She threw out her next pokeball without a moment's pause.
Jolteon crashed into the arena with a resounding thud. Jolteon, Thunderbolt.
A violent surge of electricity erupted and wrapped around Haxorus, its entire body convulsing under the current.
Dragon Claw. Haxorus fought back desperately, landing a hit, but Jolteon had already driven a thunder punch into its vital point. The dragon-type ace crumbled to the ground. Derek was sweating now. He threw out his fifth Pokémon.
Throw, go, Seismic Toss. The fighting-type specialist caught Jolteon with precise, practiced technique and hurled it hard into the ground. After a brutal exchange, Jolteon was finally defeated, but it had taken a severe toll.
Though Jolteon hadn't fainted, Derek quietly recalled it.
Now Derek had only one card left, Hydreigon. His last hope. Anna still had three, her Sylveon, her Zoroark, and one more in reserve.
Anna chose to lead with Sylveon. Hydreigon's three heads roared in unison, its terrifying dragon-type power sending a tremor through the entire arena.
This was Derek's final trump card, his only chance to turn things around.
Draco Meteor. Derek took a deep breath and gave the order. An enormous dragon-type energy sphere launched straight into the sky. In the next instant, the heavens turned deep violet, and a cascade of burning meteors with blazing tails rained down across the entire arena.
The sheer scale of the attack was overwhelming, an all-out assault with nowhere to hide.
Sylveon's small frame looked impossibly fragile beneath it. The crowd's hearts hammered. The power was staggering.
Surely, under this, Anna would be finished.
But Anna gave only one quiet command. Hold on. Sylveon's ribbons flared outward, and a shining white barrier formed instantly, bracing hard against the first devastating impact.
It held, barely, but more meteors followed, crashing down one after another.
The barrier cracked. Fragments exploded outward. Sylveon's body took serious damage. For the first time, a faint smile crossed Derek's face. It's over, Dragon Pulse.
At least they hadn't lost without a fight.
But Anna showed no panic.
Her voice was perfectly steady.
Dodge, then use Misty Terrain.
Dragon Pulse grazed Sylveon by a hair's breadth as it shifted gracefully aside, a mysterious energy blooming across the entire field beneath it.
Most of the crowd didn't understand the move. But Anna's lips curved into a quiet smile of certainty. Dark Pulse. Derek pressed forward, frowning.
Hydreigon's three heads moved in concert, dark energy crushing downward.
Anna's eyes sharpened. Now, Moonblast. Boom!
The fairy-type energy wave, amplified by the misty terrain blanketing the field, carried the full force of a 4x counter directly into Hydreigon.
It tore straight through the dark pulse and struck all three of Hydreigon's heads with devastating precision. Roar! Hydreigon let out a wretched, echoing groan.
Its massive body shuddered violently several times before crashing onto the arena floor and going still.
A last-ditch counter, and it had worked completely.
Hydreigon is unable to battle, the referee announced.
Derek's face had gone pale.
He had one Pokémon left, his throw, already battered and running on fumes. Even at full strength, facing this opponent, it would likely have made no difference. "You are a remarkable opponent," Anna said quietly, reaching for her final Pokeball.
"I noticed you a long time ago."
She threw it with a slow, deliberate arc. A dark, ghostly figure materialized on the field.
Zoroark. Derek blinked, momentarily caught off guard. "Come on," Anna said simply. "Let's finish this. Throw, go." Derek shut his eyes for just a moment, steadying himself.
Then he gave the order. Throw charged forward in one last desperate surge, throwing everything it had into the fight. But it was already spent, running on nothing but will.
Shadow Claw.
Anna's voice was unhurried, casual, even, yet it carried absolute certainty.
Zoroark's figure blurred like smoke, slipping past Throa's attack as though it were moving through air. Its ink-black claws, trailing shadow, drove hard into Throa's back. The impact echoed across the arena.
Throw staggered forward 2 steps, then sank to the ground, eyes closed.
It did not get up. For one suspended moment, the entire arena went silent.
Then the roar came, a wall of sound that shook the rafters, wave after wave of cheering and shouting that showed no sign of stopping.
They had just witnessed something extraordinary.
They had watched a champion be born. The referee raised his flag, his voice cutting clear through the noise.
Throw is unable to battle.
All of Derek's Pokémon are unable to continue.
He paused for a breath, then, the winner, Anna. The crowd exploded.
Derek stood motionless for a long moment, staring across the field at Anna standing calmly on her side of the arena, composed and smiling. Then a short, quiet laugh escaped him.
He began recalling his Pokémon one by one.
He had lost. Lost to a flawless strategy, lost to a trainer who had outthought him at every turn. There was no shame in it, only the clean, clear acknowledgement of having met someone better.
Anna gently stroked Zoroark's head, then tilted her face upward toward the VIP box above.
She already knew he was watching. She found his eyes and broke into a wide, brilliant smile.
She had done it. She hadn't let Sensei down. Chapter 230, Award Ceremony.
The entire arena erupted in cheers like a raging sea, the sound lingering long after it should have faded. Anna stood in the center of the field, wearing the brightest smile she had ever worn. She looked around at the roaring crowd and felt, strangely, a little bewildered. Even now, she could hardly believe it. Her memory drifted back to that terrible blizzard several years ago. She had been an ordinary girl then, her father gone, leaving only her and her mother to hold on to each other. Faced with the howling storm and the bleakness of survival, she had felt as though life had no way forward. It was Lucien who had led everyone to find a new settlement, guided them in cutting timber and gathering firewood, and gradually built a new home and new order on unfamiliar ground. But all of that was the past now. Anna drew herself back to the present, and the smile that spread across her face was radiant and unguarded. All of this, every bit of it, was thanks to Sensei. Around her, her Pokémon gathered close. All of them were worn and tired from the battle, yet every one of them wore an expression of unmistakable pride. Across the arena, Derek quietly recalled his last Pokémon. He looked at Anna for a moment, and something like quiet envy crossed his face, not bitterness, just honest admiration.
Throw, Lucario, everyone.
You worked hard. Rest now, he murmured to his Pokeballs. Then he walked forward and extended his hand, his voice steady and sincere.
You're very strong.
I accept my defeat wholeheartedly. You were incredible, Anna said, shaking his hand warmly.
It was an honor to battle you.
The championship was decided, but the respect between them remained whole. Then, as if the world itself had taken notice, the sky above the arena shifted. The clear blue was suddenly flecked with soft, drifting snowflakes. The crowd stirred, and one by one, heads turned upward, toward the Grand Royal stand at the summit of the hall, the seat that symbolized the supreme authority of the Unova Kingdom. There, a tall, composed figure slowly rose. Behind him, ancient and vast and utterly awe-inspiring, Kyurem's presence radiated outward like a force of nature. Lucian's dark blue royal robes, edged with gold, caught the light and gleamed. He raised his eyes slowly, his calm gaze sweeping across the surging crowd below.
He said nothing. He didn't need to.
Simply standing there, he commanded a stillness that seemed to settle over the entire arena on its own. It's His Majesty the King. His Majesty Lucian has come in person.
The arena fell silent for one breathless moment, then broke into the most fervent cheering yet. Every head bowed in unison, the crowd paying reverence to their king. Lucian descended the steps with Kyurem, moving toward the arena floor.
Behind him, Elif followed at a respectful distance, carrying an exquisite gift box in both hands.
Lucian's gaze found Anna as he entered the field.
His expression carried no particular emotion, only a deep, settled calm, as though the outcome of this battle had never held any real suspense for him.
Anna felt warmth bloom in her chest.
She bowed slightly, her Pokémon doing the same beside her.
Sensei. Your Majesty. Lucian gave a small nod.
Then he turned, and his gaze moved across the entire arena. When he spoke, his voice was not loud, and yet it reached every corner of the vast space with perfect clarity.
This year's Unova Kingdom League tournament has concluded successfully. The arena went still.
He turned first to Rick, and then to the three others who had already been confirmed in the earlier rounds. Each of you has demonstrated the will and the honor of a true trainer on this battlefield. In the name of the King of the Unova Kingdom, I declare, from this day forward, Lucas, Raphael, Freya, and Rick are officially appointed as the Elite Four of the Unova Kingdom. All four of them stilled. They hadn't won the championship, and yet, confused, they each dropped to one knee without hesitation.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
The four positions of the Elite Four were thus filled.
Then every eye in the arena turned to Anna. Lucian extended his hand.
Olive stepped forward at once and opened the gift box. Inside, resting quietly against silk lining, was the champion's medal, deep blue gemstones set into its face, Kyurem's form etched with fine precision into the metal. Beside it lay the red champion's coat, a gleaming trophy, and the highest-ranking trainer's token of the Unova Kingdom, symbols of authority and responsibility alike.
Lucian lifted the medal himself and walked towards Anna. Anna.
His voice was soft, and within it, unmistakably, was pride.
Anna straightened at once.
Yes, Your Majesty. You have not disappointed my expectations.
He paused. Nor have you let down your own efforts. From this day forward, you are the champion of the first Unova Kingdom League.
He raised the medal and placed it gently against her chest. The cool touch of the medal sent a rush of warmth straight to her heart.
Champion.
She was the champion. From now on, all Pokémon-related matters within the Unova Kingdom will be handled by you and the Elite Four together. Protect this land.
Protect the peace between humanity and Pokémon. Guide them to live together in harmony. This is your glory, and your responsibility. Anna drew a deep breath.
She lifted her head, and her eyes shone. But she held herself steady. She knelt on one knee, her voice clear and strong.
Anna accepts Your Majesty's command.
Lucian raised his hand slightly.
Rise.
He turned then, facing the vast crowd that filled every corner of the arena. When he spoke, his voice carried the full weight of royal authority, resonating across the entire space. The first Unova Kingdom League tournament has officially concluded. I, in the name of the king, declare that from this day forward, every year, during this same period, the kingdom shall hold a league tournament. He let the words settle, then continued. To those trainers who did not win, do not be discouraged. Return next year, triumph in the tournament, and you will earn the right to challenge the Elite Four and the champion directly. Defeat them, and you may claim their seat. You may even claim the championship itself. The moment those words landed, the arena detonated. The trainers who had walked away defeated, their heads bowed and spirits dimmed. In an instant, a light came back into their eyes. They still had a chance. This time, when they returned home, they would train harder than they ever had. They would come back next year and try again. Lucian smiled. If that was how it would be, then the profession of trainer would never stagnate, it would renew itself endlessly, each generation sharpening the next. His gaze swept one last time across the vast, surging crowd, and he raised his voice once more. I declare, the new era of the Unova Kingdom begins from this moment. The roar that followed was deafening. Cheers, applause, and jubilant shouts rose together and soared toward the sky. Without anyone quite noticing when it had happened, a group of Minchino had crept to the edges of the arena and were gleefully scattering flower petals across the field. From the direction of the castle, the great celebratory bells began to ring. Anna stood at the center of it all, the champion's medal gleaming on her chest. Lucian quietly stepped back, ceding the stage entirely to the five of them. The world, from here, belonged to these young people. And if he was being honest with himself, what made him happiest of all was the thought that from this day forward, the countless great and trivial matters of the Unova Kingdom would finally have someone else to handle them. He could, at long last, relax. Drink his tea. Sit in the sun. Live at his own unhurried pace. The championship, the Elite Four, the league tournament, let these bright, vigorous young people carry all of that on their shoulders and make their mark on the world. That wraps up this part of What If Transmigrated to a Medieval Pokémon World. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.